Well, hey everyone, this is Brother D here at the farm, and today we're going to meet a really unique individual. Here in Kentucky, when people hear the name J.W. Lynn, they might think of aviation excellence, they might think of customer service. They may even recall his accolades, such as receiving the Kentucky Aviation Ace Award. But then there are others like myself, who when they hear the name J.W. Lynn, they think of ministry. So when my family and I first moved back to Danville, my wife, she came home from her nursing job one day and she said, "You would never believe the man I met. He came into a patient's room and he prayed with them, and he had the most sincere and heartfelt prayer. And by the way, he just happened to be a pilot." Well, before moving back to central Kentucky, I had thought about picking up my flying again, and I'd done some research on the internet, and I had stumbled across an article about this man with his aviation ministry, and his name was J.W. Lynn. And so I immediately asked my wife, was his name J.W.? And she said, "Yeah, I think that's it." And I knew from that moment forward I just had to meet this man who was passionate about both ministry and aviation. So the article I read came from the Casey County News. It was dated July 6th of 2009. Now I want to take a moment and just read a few words from that article. In this article, it says he had a desire years ago to be a missionary pilot in Haiti or wherever God would lead him. But he said for various reasons that door never opened. So he searched for a way that God could use him and his flying skills. "My ministry, my mission," Lynn said, "is taking people up in a plane so they can see and experience God's creation." You know, that sounds really interesting, and I want to see how he does that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get in the truck over here, we're going to drive out to the airport, we're going to track down J.W. Lynn, sit down and have an interview with him, and hopefully we're going to get to do a little bit of flying. So I want to invite you to ride along on today's aviation journey. So here we are at the Danville-Boyle County Airport. Let's go see if we can find J.W. Lynn. So J.W., thank you for taking the time to share with us and just tell us a little bit about your story. If you're okay with it, we'll go ahead and get started.
Sure, yeah, and thank you for asking.
When you were feeling led to start a Christian-based flight school, how did God confirm to you that's what he wanted you to do?
How that came about, so I went to doing the jet flying thing. Did that for a while, full time, and as I crisscrossed the country, you know, I've seen the Rocky Mountains, both oceans in the same day, the Northern Lights, these different awesome, you know, sights and scenes that this creation our Lord has created. I thought, you know what, that inner persistent nag was there of wanting to do something, and finally it was like, Lord, what can I do? And he said, well, just give people a ride and let them get a perspective on creation that you see. And that's literally how the ministry took off. Or take people an airplane ride. Let them look out the window and see for themselves, you know. And that was the beginning of the ministry, the flight ministry.
Yes, it is amazing what God has created and how it can just open our eyes to the fact that there's something so much bigger out there than ourselves.
Yeah, I think God speaks to us in a lot of ways. Obviously, he speaks to us through his word, he speaks to us through prayer, but he speaks to us through his creation. And that beauty and that complexity to creation, you know, as pilots, a bumblebee shouldn't fly.
That's right.
You know, it's the big body and the little bitty wings, and how did it do that? You know, God's handiwork is all around us, but this life has a way of distracting and distorting that. So my flights are just, hey, let's reel this back in just a little bit. settle down, just look out the window and focus. Pay attention.
From your experience, how can aviation help people with some of the challenges that they face in life?
Well, there's a couple of angles there I'd want to approach that with. As you know, somebody learning to fly, it's got its challenges. So, you've got to put the effort in to become a pilot. So what I mean by that is, and how does that help folks? They have to focus, they have to put their mind into it, and so that can take away some of the distractions of this world has thrown at us.
True.
Another way, I had a gentleman that I'm teaching to fly. His wife passed away within the past year due to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of those things he's kind of always wanted to do, but life circumstances got in the way. He didn't get to do it, so now he's pursuing it. And it was a wonderful compliment. He's just about finished with his training. We're preparing for the check ride. And just out of the blue, he said, you've saved my life. And I thought, what do you mean? And he said, this has really helped him, and it really helped him get his mind off of, the passing of his spouse. And so from a spiritual sense, even, it really helped him. And that was a great compliment.
I think everyone needs a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Without purpose, we're just floundering in life. And so I can see how aviation is very beneficial in helping people to just refocus and gain a new sense of enthusiasm and passion for life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what you're telling us?
Yeah, it's a goal. All right, another basis for the ministry. I felt like this was an inner prompting, and I have not copied this as maybe somebody said it at some point in time. I do not know. I just know my thought, it came to me. But it's like the Lord saying, hey, if I want you in a mission field in Africa or wherever on this earth, it's His job to open those doors and direct me in that direction.
That's right.
And so I think what God calls of each one of us is to do what you can, where you are, with what you have.
So let me ask you something else. I came across an article in our local newspaper, which is the Danville Advocate Messenger, and I read an article where you were interviewed, and you said that some individuals are wrestling with issues that they don't feel comfortable sharing with people in the church, but that your ministry, your aviation ministry, has actually seen some success in helping them. So can you share a little bit about how you've seen aviation help people in ways that maybe other ministries can't, other more traditional ministries?
Well, I think it all boils down to, a lot of times, is communication.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you got to love people, okay? And so what I've tried to do, I'll give anybody that comes through that door a free airplane ride. If
Wow.
God brings them, and that's what they're here for, then I'm going to take them.
That's awesome.
And so my original yearning was reaching out to people that's made poor choices.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks have made some pretty poor choices, and they're down on themselves. Some of these folks maybe they got into drugs and got into alcohol, and they don't feel like they would be socially accepted going to church. The Bible talks about, not showing favoritism and things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So just come on, take a ride. It's, and what choices you've made, don't worry about it, and I want people to feel welcome. And I think in just that right there, I do my best to try to help those folks, or any folks, feel welcome. Age doesn't matter. The choices they made doesn't matter. But certainly I'm going to use the time to point them to the Lord and talk about the Lord and how the Lord, not the flying. It's not about the flying. It's about, do you know who created all this that we're looking at?
Right.
That's what it's about.
There you go.
So I've got a little book over the different signatures of people I've taken a ride. You'll notice I have a stack of testaments sitting out there on the table.
I did notice that.
And those are free for folks. And there's times folks come through that I don't have a clue. I might come in here on a Monday morning, and that stack would be down to a 3 or whatever, and I just replenish it, and that's the point. Take them.
Mm-hmm.
I figure, if somebody will read it, God can work however He wants to work there. Had a UPS pilot that I had taken his family a ride. He has a Bonanza. He flew in here one time, and I hadn't seen him in a while. Didn't even remember giving him and his family a ride. And he said, "Come here, I want to show you something." And so he pulled out of his flight bag one of the little New Testaments that I had given him, and it was not, it was getting a little bit worn. You could tell it had been used.
Right. He
said, "Open it up." And so different places there was notes in it. One said like Germany, or one said Hong Kong, or what, And I said, "You must be a UPS pilot." And he goes, "Yeah, you don't remember me, do you?" And I said, "I'm sorry, I do not." He said, "Well, you gave this to me. This little Bible goes with me all over the world."
I found a short article from our local newspaper, and it was dated May 14th, 2019, which of course is just this year. This article talked about how you took some ladies from the Morning Point Senior Living Facility on a flight. Would you mind sharing about that flight and how you saw it as an opportunity?
Well, as I said earlier about me taking people a ride, anybody that comes through the door. And so Morning Point got a hold of me and said, "Hey, we got a group of senior citizens, and we'd like to take them and show them around the airport, and we hear that you give rides and that sort of thing." And I said, "Sure, absolutely." I think there was like 13 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was male and female, mostly ladies, but there was a couple of older gentlemen too. And so they brought them out, in the bus and stuff like that. You just want to, again, extend your appreciation and love for people. That's all it really is.
Right.
And so, here I'm really wanting to be a blessing to those folks, okay? I'm the one that ends up, in my opinion, getting the blessing. I actually got on the bus when they were all bussed back, or loaded back up on the bus and going to leave. So I got up to the steps and looked back at all of them, and I said, "Hey, I want to tell you all something. I really wanted to be a blessing to you all when you all came out here today, but you all have blessed me." I just found myself a lot smiling and laughing with them, and one told me, she goes, "I've never been in an airplane before." It's such a heartwarming feeling just to treat people, your brothers and sisters in this world, and just extend a hand of love and care for them. And so I just wanted to show them that I appreciate them. And again, I got the blessing out of it.
So I think we've covered a few good questions to introduce us to your flight school and to your ministry. Is there anything else that maybe you'd like to share, something we didn't touch upon?
Well, I think we pretty much touched upon it, but my message to folks or what I'd want to tell them. If somebody sees this video, okay, and you think of an individual, whether a family member, a friend, that that would be something that might help them, might cheer their day up, or obviously, I wanted to point them to the Lord, but maybe they're already a believer. But life can beat you down,
Yeah.
Tell them to come. It don't cost them a thing. I'll take them a ride and talk to them about the Lord, give them a New Testament. So come into this flight, hey, forget everything outside. We're going to detach, we're going to go for an airplane ride, we're going to look out the window. And the whole idea of that is we're going to try to tune in and listen and look for the Lord and what He might have to say to you through His creation.
So JW, you've told us a little bit about this flight that you like to take people on, and how you share some things that are related to your faith, your Christian faith. Would you mind taking us on one of those flights?
Oh, I'd be happy to.
All right, well, let's do it.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Well, here I am back at the farm, and unfortunately, we didn't get to go flying. Something came up, but that'll make great material for another video. So I just want to encourage you to keep an eye out for part 2, and be sure to like and subscribe below.